The alarm went off in the middle of Park Hyun's third meal. He was eating rice balls that his friend Cho had packed for him that morning. The transport ship he worked on was quiet, moving through empty space like it always did. Then the alarm screamed through the hallways. Hyun ran to the bridge. Captain Ryu was already there, staring at the screen with worried eyes. "Distress beacon," Ryu said. 2 hours away. "We should help them," Hyun said. Ryu shook his head. "The signature is Vrexian." You know what that means, Hyun knew. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Vrexians. They were hunters, predators. Their species had conquered 6 star systems by being the strongest, the fastest, the most dangerous. Human children had nightmares about them. Trading posts closed their doors when Vrexian ships approached. "They might be dying," Hyun said quietly. "They might kill us," Ryu answered. Hyun thought about his younger brother. 5 years ago, his brother's ship had sent out a distress call. 3 vessels passed by without stopping. By the time help arrived, everyone was dead. Hyun still remembered getting the news. He remembered thinking that someone could have saved them. Someone just had to care enough to try. "Please," Hyun said. "Just to look." Ryu stared at him for a long moment. Then he sighed. "Fine. But if anything looks wrong, we jump away immediately." 2 hours later, they found the Vrexian ship. It was small, a scout vessel, and it was damaged badly. Burn marks covered the hull. One engine was completely destroyed. The ship drifted in space like a dead thing. "No life support," the engineer Lee said, checking his readings. "Wait. Yes, there is. Minimal. Someone's alive in there." "Could be a trap," Ryu said. "Could be people who need help," Hyun replied. They docked with the damaged ship. Hyun volunteered to go aboard first. Ryu tried to stop him, but Hyun was already putting on his suit. He carried a supply bag with him. Inside was his lunch, some medical supplies, and a water recycler. The airlock opened with a hiss. The Vrexian ship was dark inside. Hyun's helmet light cut through the shadows. He could see claw marks on the walls. Something had been fighting in here. He moved carefully through the corridor. His heart was beating fast. Every shadow looked like a monster. He knew what Vrexians looked like. He had seen pictures. They stood 7 feet tall with gray skin like stone. Their hands had claws that could tear through metal. Their faces had too many teeth. He found them in the main cabin. There were 4 of them. They sat in the darkness, not moving. When Hyun's light hit them, they turned their heads slowly. Their eyes reflected the light like animals. One of them growled, a sound that made Hyun's whole body want to run. The biggest one stood up. He was covered in scars. His armor was torn. He looked at Hyun the way a wolf looks at a rabbit. "Human," the Vrexian said. His voice was rough, like rocks grinding together. "You made a mistake coming here." Hyun saw how thin they were. Their skin was pulled tight over their bones. One of them, a female, had a wound on her leg that hadn't healed properly. They weren't sitting in the dark because they wanted to. They were sitting because they didn't have the energy to stand. "How long since you've eaten?" Hyun asked. The question seemed to confuse them. The big one tilted his head. 3 days. "Why do you ask, pray?" "My name is Hyun," he said. "Not pray." Another Vrexian stood up. This one was younger, with fewer scars. "Your ship," he said. "We need it. Give us access and we will let you die quickly." The big one held up his hand. "Wait, Thane." He studied Hyun carefully. "You came alone. You are weak. You carry no weapons." Why? Hyun didn't answer. Instead, he slowly knelt down and placed his supply bag on the floor. The Vrexians tensed, ready to attack. But Hyun just opened the bag and started taking things out. Rice balls wrapped in seaweed, dried meat strips, a container of soup still warm in its thermal flask, 2 apples, a bag of crackers. He laid the food on the floor between them. Then he stood up and took 3 steps back. "What is this?" the big one asked. "My lunch," Hyun said. "You need it more than I do." The 4 Vrexians stared at the food. Then they stared at Hyun. None of them moved. They looked at each other, confused and suspicious. "Poison?" the female asked. "No," Hyun said. "A trick," Thane decided. "He wants something." "I want you to eat," Hyun said simply. The big one moved closer to the food. He knelt down and picked up a rice ball. He sniffed it. His claws could have crushed it easily, but he was careful. He took a small bite, his eyes widened. The next moment, all 4 Vrexians were eating. They tried to go slowly at first to maintain dignity, but hunger won. They ate like they were dying, because they were. The rice balls disappeared. The dried meat vanished. They passed the soup container between them, drinking straight from it. Hyun watched quietly. He didn't move. He barely breathed. He just let them eat. When the food was gone, the Vrexian sat back. The female was crying, though she tried to hide it. The big one stared at Hyun with an expression that might have been confusion or might have been something else. "Why?" he asked finally. "Because you needed it," Hyun said. "We are Vrexian," the big one said, as if that explained everything. "We are predators, hunters, your people fear us. We have killed humans before." "Maybe," Hyun said, "but right now you were starving. And I had food." Thane shook his head. "This makes no sense. In our world, the strong take from the weak. You are weak. We could have taken everything from you. You still could," Hyun pointed out. The big one stood up. He was even more frightening up close. His claws were inches from Hyun's face. "I am Krell, leader of this pack. You saved our lives, human. This creates a debt." "No debt," Hyun said. "I was just being human." "What does that mean?" Krell asked. Hyun smiled a little. "It means sometimes we help people just because we can. My captain is waiting for me. Your ship is damaged. We can tow you to the nearest station. Will you come?" The four Vrexians looked at each other. Hyun could see them having a silent conversation. Finally, Krell nodded. "We will come," he said. "But I do not understand you, Park-hyun. Your species is weak. Your body is soft. Yet you walked into darkness to face predators. You gave away your food to strangers who could kill you. This is not logical." "Maybe not," Hyun agreed. "But it's who we are." As they walked back to the airlock, the female Vrexian limped beside Hyun. "I am Sira," she said quietly. "That was the first kindness a stranger has shown me in 15 years. Then you've been meeting the wrong strangers," Hyun said. Behind them, Thane muttered to Krell in their own language. Hyun's translator picked up some of it. "This changes nothing. Humans are still prey, weak and foolish." But Krell's response was different. "Perhaps, or perhaps we are the fools for never questioning why we hunt alone." On the bridge of the transport ship, Captain Ryu nearly had a heart attack when Hyun returned with 4 Vrexian warriors. But when he saw how weak they were, how grateful, something in his expression changed. "We're taking them to Crosspoint Station," Hyun told him. Ryu looked at the Vrexians, then at Hyun. Then he sighed the sigh of a man who knows he's been beaten. "Fine, but you're explaining this to headquarters." As the transport ship pulled the damaged Vrexian vessel into tow, Krell stood in the cargo bay, watching the human crew work. They moved around the dangerous Vrexians without fear. They offered water and blankets. Lee the engineer was already talking about helping repair their ship. What kind of species are these humans? Krell wondered aloud. "Weak ones," Thane insisted. But Sira, watching Park-hyun laugh with his crewmates, said something different. "No, I think they might be the strongest species we've ever met. We just didn't know what strength really looked like." The journey to Crosspoint Station would take 3 days. In that time, everything would change. But for now, 4 starving predators were fed, and 1 human had proven that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is share your lunch. The Vrexians spent their first night on the human ship watching everything. They didn't sleep. Sleep meant vulnerability, and they were surrounded by an alien species they didn't understand. Krell stood in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Behind him, he could hear human crew members laughing in the common area. The sound was strange to him. Vrexians didn't laugh like that. They barked in victory or growled in challenge, but this soft, warm sound was foreign. "You should rest," a voice said. Krell turned. It was the ship's doctor, a woman named Choi. She was small even for a human, and she carried a medical kit. "I don't need rest," Krell said. "Your friend Sira does. Her leg wound is infected. Will you let me treat her?" Krell studied the doctor carefully. In his world, showing weakness to an outsider meant death. But these humans had already seen them at their weakest. They had been starving, defeated, and helpless. Yet the humans hadn't attacked. "I will ask her," Krell said. He found Sira in the cargo bay where the Vrexians had made their temporary camp. Thane was there too, pacing like a caged animal. The 4th member of their pack, a quiet male named Rin, was trying to rest. "The human doctor wants to treat your leg," Krell told Sira. "No," Thane said immediately. "We show no more weakness to these creatures." "These creatures saved our lives," Sira reminded him. "They want something. Thane insisted. No species gives without taking. They're waiting for the right moment to demand payment. Krell had thought the same thing at first, but he had been watching the humans for hours now. Engineer Lee had spent 3 hours helping them understand their ship's damage. He hadn't asked for anything in return. Captain Ryu had given them access to the food storage. The crew walked past them without fear or hostility. Let the doctor look at your wound, Krell decided. If it's a trap, we will deal with it. Dr. Choi came to the cargo bay with her medical kit. She knelt beside Sierra with slow, careful movements. Sierra watched her with predator eyes ready to strike if needed. This will hurt a little, Dr. Choi said gently. She cleaned the wound with careful hands. Sierra flinched but didn't pull away. The doctor worked with a gentleness that confused Sierra. In Vrexian culture, pain was expected. You endured it or you died, but this human seemed to care about causing unnecessary pain. Why are you a doctor? Sierra asked suddenly. Dr. Choi looked up, surprised by the question. I wanted to help people, that's all. That's everything, Dr. Choi said, smiling. After the doctor left, Sierra sat quietly, touching the clean bandage on her leg. She cared, Sierra said softly. Not because I'm part of her pack. Not because I can help her survive. She just cared. It's a trick, Thane muttered, but his voice was less certain now. The next morning, Captain Ryu invited the Vrexians to breakfast in the common area. The humans ate together every morning. It was their custom. The common area was small and crowded. Humans sat at tables talking and eating. When the 4 Vrexians entered, the room went quiet for a moment. Then Hyun waved them over. Sit with us, he said. Krell and his pack sat at the table. The humans brought them food. Real food, not the emergency rations they had been surviving on. There was rice, vegetables, some kind of meat, and fresh fruit. Thane stared at the fruit like it might be poisonous. Why do you feed us? Because it's breakfast time, Hyun said as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. We could kill you, Thane said. All of you. We are predators. You are prey. Engineer Lee, sitting across from them, shrugged. Could you, though? I mean, you're still recovering. You're weak, and there are 30 of us on this ship. Thane growled, but Krell put a hand on his shoulder. He's right. And more importantly, they know we won't attack. How do they know? Thane demanded. Because we already would have, Krell said simply. We've had opportunities. We haven't taken them. They trust us. Trust. Sierra repeated the word like she was tasting it. We don't have a word quite like that in our language. Hyun put down his food. Really, you don't have trust? We have pack bond, Krell explained. But that's different. Pack bonds are formed through blood, through shared survival. You trust your pack because you fought beside them, but you humans seem to trust strangers. Not always, Hyun admitted, but we try. My grandmother used to say that trust has to start somewhere. Someone has to be brave enough to give it first. That sounds like a good way to die, Thane said. Sometimes, Hyun agreed, but it's also how we've survived. Humans used to live in small groups like packs. We were weak. We had no claws, no armor, no natural weapons, but we learned to trust each other. We formed bigger groups, tribes, cities, nations. Eventually, we trusted each other enough to work together, and that made us strong. Krell leaned forward. This interested him. You're saying weakness forced you to cooperate? Maybe. Or maybe cooperation was always our strength and we just had to learn how to use it. After breakfast, Engineer Lee showed the Vrexians their ship's damage assessment. It was bad. The main engine was destroyed. The navigation system was fried. The life support had been running on emergency power. You were maybe 12 hours from death when we found you, Lee said bluntly. How long to repair? Krell asked. With standard methods? 3 weeks. But I've been studying Vrexian engine design. If you help me, we could maybe do it in 1 week. Why would you help us repair our ship? Rin asked. He had been quiet until now, but the question seemed to bother him. Because you need your ship, Lee said, confused by the question. But once we have our ship, we could leave. We could attack you. We owe you nothing. Lee looked genuinely puzzled. But you wouldn't do that. You seem like decent people. Thane laughed, a harsh barking sound. Decent, we are Vrexian. We have destroyed colonies. We have killed hundreds in battle. Your species fears us across 6 systems. Yeah, Lee said. But you also could have killed Hyun when he came aboard your ship. And you didn't. You could have attacked us when you were brought here. And you didn't. So maybe you're not as scary as you think you are. That evening, Krell found Hyun in the observation deck again. The human was drinking something hot from a cup and watching the stars. Your engineer insulted us today, Krell said. Did he? He called us decent. He implied we're not dangerous, Hyun smiled. And that bothers you? Yes, no. Krell sat down, frustrated. I don't know. We are predators. That's our identity. We are the hunters. The strong. The feared. But your people look at us and see something different. What do we see? You see people who need help. You see injured warriors who need a doctor. You see hungry strangers who need food. You see damaged ships that need repair. Krell shook his head. You see us as equals, isn't that good? It's confusing, Krell admitted. In our culture, there are only two types of beings. Pack and prey, strong and weak, dominant and submissive. But you humans don't fit into those categories. You're physically weak, but you defeated us without fighting. You're prey animals, but you don't act like prey. Hyun was quiet for a moment. Can I tell you something about human history? Please. A long time ago, we had animals called wolves. They were predators like you. Strong, fast, dangerous. They hunted in packs. They were apex predators in their environment. Like Vrexians. Yes, but some wolves started living near human settlements. They ate our garbage. They followed our hunters. And slowly, over thousands of years, those wolves changed. They became dogs. They became weak, Krell said. No, Hyun said firmly. They became partners. Dogs kept their strength. They can still fight, still hunt, still protect. But they gained something more. They gained humans. Together, humans and dogs spread across our entire world. Dogs live in comfort and safety. They're fed and cared for. Humans gained loyal companions who help us hunt, protect us, guide us. Both species became stronger together than either was alone. You're saying we should become your pets? Thane's voice came from the doorway. He had been listening. No, Hyun said patiently. I'm saying that predators can evolve. You can keep your strength and gain partnership. The question is, are you brave enough to try? Thane walked away without answering. But Krell stayed, thinking about wolves and dogs, about predators and partners. That night, Sierra asked Dr. Choi to teach her about human medicine. Rin asked Lee if he could help with the ship repairs. Even Thane, despite his anger, found himself watching the human crew with curious eyes. They were 3 days into a journey that would change everything. The Vrexians were beginning to understand that the humans weren't weak. They were different. And maybe, just maybe, different wasn't the same as inferior. As Krell lay down to rest that night, he thought about Hyun's words. The human had called cooperation a strength. In Vrexian culture, that would be heresy. But Krell had seen the human crew working together. He had seen how they cared for each other, helped each other, trusted each other, and he wondered, what if his entire species had been wrong about what strength really meant? The alarm that woke everyone was different from before. This one was urgent, screaming through the ship like a wounded animal. Krell was on his feet in seconds, his pack beside him. Captain Ryu's voice came through the ship's speakers. All hands to stations. We have a distress call. Civilian transport under attack. Hyun ran past the Vrexians, heading for the bridge. Krell followed him without thinking. On the bridge, they could see the situation on the main screen. A small transport ship was being circled by 3 fighter craft. Even from here, Krell could recognize the attackers. Raiders, he said quietly. Vrexian raiders. Can we help them? Hyun asked the captain. Ryu shook his head. We're a cargo ship. We have minimal weapons. Those are military-grade fighters. If we engage, we'll be destroyed. So we just leave them to die? Hyun's voice was angry. We call for help and hope it arrives in time, Ryu said. But his expression said he knew help wouldn't come fast enough. Krell studied the screen. 3 fighters. He knew those ships. Light, fast, brutal. The raiders would disable the transport, board it, take everything valuable and kill everyone aboard. It's what raiders did. It's what his own pack might have done in another life. I know those ships, Krell said. I can fight them. Everyone on the bridge turned to stare at him. You're recovering, Ryu said. Your ship isn't even repaired. My ship doesn't need to be fully repaired to fight. And my pack has hunted raiders before. Krell looked at Hyun. You helped us when we were dying. Let us help now. Thane appeared in the doorway with Sierra and Rin behind him. Krell, what are you doing? The right thing, Krell said. I think, Thane stared at him. Then slowly he nodded. The right thing, yes, I understand. Engineer Lee spoke up. If they take their ship out, they'll need support. Our cargo ship has defensive weapons. Not much, but enough to help. Captain Ryu looked around at his crew, then at the Vrexians, then at the civilian transport on the screen, which was taking heavy fire. He closed his eyes and made the decision. Battle stations. Everyone to your positions. Lee, get that Vrexian ship ready to launch. Hyun, you're with me on weapons. Vrexians, try not to get killed. We just got you healthy. 10 minutes later, Krell's pack was in their repaired ship, engines humming. It felt good to be back in command of his own vessel. Sierra was on sensors. Rin handled weapons. Thane was his co-pilot. This is stupid, Thane said, but he was smiling his predator smile. We're going to fight our own kind to save humans we barely know. Yes, Krell said simply. Good, Thane said. I was hoping you'd say that. They launched from the cargo ship's bay and immediately dove toward the combat zone. The Raider fighters saw them coming and broke off from the civilian transport. One of them opened a communication channel. Krell? A voice said. Is that you? Krell recognized that voice. Gresk. I should have known you'd still be alive. You're like a disease that won't die. Gresk laughed. But what are you doing here, old friend? That cargo ship has human markings. Don't tell me you're working with the prey now. They saved my pack's lives, Krell said, so take what you want from them and join us. This transport has good cargo. We'll split it with you. Krell looked at his crew. Sierra shook her head slightly. Rin's hands were already on the weapons controls. Thane just grinned. No, Krell said. Leave the transport alone. Silence on the channel. Then Gresk spoke again, his voice cold. You've gone soft, Krell. These humans have made you weak. We'll kill them and then we'll kill you for betraying your own kind. Come try, Krell said, and cut the channel. The battle began fast. Gresk's raiders were experienced fighters. They knew how to work together, how to corner prey. But Krell's pack knew something the raiders didn't. They had been watching the humans. They had learned new things. Sierra, coordinate with the human ship, Krell ordered. Share our sensor data with them. That's not how we fight, Thane protested. No, Krell agreed. It's how humans fight. Let's try it their way. The change was immediate. The cargo ship could see what Krell's pack could see. They could coordinate their attacks. When one of Gresk's fighters came at Krell from the left, the cargo ship's defensive weapons drove it off. When another tried to flank the cargo ship, Krell's weapons were already waiting. On the cargo ship, Hyun was manning the weapons station. He had never been in combat before. His hands were shaking. But he could see the tactical display, could see how the Vrexian pack was moving, and he understood. Cover their right side, he told Captain Ryu. They're pushing the raiders toward us. Ryu fired, and one of the raider ships took a hit. I'll be damned. This is actually working. The civilian transport, seeing help arrive, tried to limp away from the combat zone, but one of the raiders broke off to pursue it. Krell saw it happening. Sierra, which ship is targeting the civilian? The one diving low. He's going for their engines. Krell made a decision that would have been unthinkable a week ago. Rin, protect the civilian ship. Thane, take us after Gresk. The humans will cover us. They split up. In traditional Vrexian combat, splitting your pack was suicide. You stayed together, overwhelming enemies with combined force. But humans fought differently. They spread out, covered each other, worked as a larger team rather than a tight pack. Rin pursued the raider, threatening the civilian ship. He wasn't the best pilot, but he was steady. When the raider tried to shake him, the cargo ship was there, forcing the raider back into Rin's weapons range. 2 shots and the raider's engines were disabled. Meanwhile, Krell was chasing Gresk through a deadly dance of space combat. Gresk was good, maybe better than Krell, but Gresk was alone, fighting the old way. Krell had backup. Hyun, Krell said over the communication channel. I'm going to drive him toward you. Can you hit him? I've never done this before, Hyun admitted. Neither have I, Krell said. Let's learn together. Krell pushed Gresk hard, using maneuvers that left Krell's own ship vulnerable. But every time Gresk tried to take advantage, the cargo ship's weapons drove him off. Gresk was fast, skilled, and desperate. But he was fighting 2 ships that moved like one. Finally, Gresk made a mistake. He zigged when he should have zagged, and suddenly he was right in front of the cargo ship. Now, Krell shouted. Hyun fired. His first shot missed. His second shot missed. His third shot hit Gresk's ship right in the engine core. The raider fighter spun out of control, bleeding atmosphere. The third raider, seeing both his companions disabled, decided retreat was smarter than death. He jumped away into hyperspace. For a moment, there was silence on all channels. Then Hyun spoke, his voice shaking. Did we just win? We did, Krell said. He felt strange. Victory usually meant standing over defeated enemies, but this victory felt different. Better somehow. They towed both disabled raider ships to the nearest station, a place called Haven's Rest. The station was neutral territory, a hub for travelers of all species. When they arrived, they found the civilian transport already docked. Its crew was mostly safe, though shaken. Among the survivors was a small human child, a girl, maybe 6 years old. Her name was Yuki. She had lost her parents in the attack. When she saw the Vrexians, she screamed and hid behind a station security officer. Sierra stopped walking. The child's fear hit her like a physical blow. Was this how the galaxy saw them? As monsters who made children scream? The security officer was trying to calm Yuki down. The girl had a small toy, a stuffed animal that she had dropped when she ran away. It lay on the ground between Sierra and the child. Sierra moved very slowly. She picked up the toy with careful claws that could have torn it apart. She walked toward Yuki, who pressed harder against the security officer's legs. Here, Sierra said softly, holding out the toy. You dropped this. Yuki stared at her. Then very slowly the girl reached out and took the toy back. Thank you, she whispered. You're welcome, Sierra said. Later, in the station's common area, Commander Shin of the station security met with them. He was an older human with gray hair and tired eyes. You saved 37 people today, Shin said. The civilian transport, its crew and passengers. We're grateful. We just did what needed to be done, Krell said. Shin studied the Vrexian pack carefully. You worked with humans. You coordinated tactics. You protected civilians. That's not typical Vrexian behavior. No, Krell admitted. It's not. What changed? Krell looked at Hyun, who was sitting nearby. Someone showed us that there are different ways to be strong. That evening, Yuki brought them food from the station's cafeteria. She was still scared, but less so now. She placed the tray in front of Krell and ran away quickly, but she looked back once and waved. Thane stared at the food, then at the retreating child. She brought us food, just like Hyun did. Yes, Sierra said quietly. The kindness spreads, like ripples in water. I don't understand any of this, Thane admitted. We save people we don't know. A child who fears us brought us food. The humans treated us like equals even though we're supposed to be enemies. Nothing makes sense anymore. Maybe it does, Rin said. He was the quietest of the pack, but now he spoke clearly. Maybe we've been wrong about what makes sense. We thought strength meant standing alone, being feared, taking what we wanted. But look at what we did today. We fought beside humans and won a battle we should have lost. We protected the weak and felt good about it. We made a child smile even though she was afraid. Are you saying we've become weak? Thane demanded. The message arrived 3 days after the battle. It was marked with the seal of the Vrexian Dominion Council. Krell read it alone in his quarters, his hands steady even though his hearts were racing. Return home immediately to face judgment, or be declared outcast forever. Thane found him an hour later staring at the message. So they know. Word travels fast, Krell said. We fought against our own kind. We protected humans. We abandoned the old ways. What will you do? Krell looked at his second in command. What will we do? You're part of this pack, Thane. The choice is ours to make together. Thane was quiet for a long moment. We should go back, face them. If we're going to change, we should try to change our people too. They might kill us. Yes, Thane agreed. But at least we'll die for something that matters. When Krell told the others, Sierra and Rin agreed immediately. They would return to Vrex Prime together. As a pack, Hyun insisted on coming with them. Captain Ryu tried to talk him out of it, but Hyun was stubborn. You're going into danger because you learned something from us, Hyun said. The least I can do is stand beside you, so it was decided. They would take both ships, the Vrexian fighter and the human cargo vessel, and travel to the heart of Vrexian territory. Captain Ryu sent a message to human authorities, requesting a formal diplomatic team. 3 days later, they were joined by Ambassador Dane and his security chief, a woman named Bora. Ambassador Dane was nervous. He was a career diplomat who had negotiated with dozens of species, but Vrexians were different. They respected strength and despised weakness. How do you negotiate with a culture built on predation? Bora was more practical. She was a former soldier, compact and dangerous. She walked into the meeting with Krell's pack and immediately assessed each of them for threat level. Then she smiled. I like you already. You have warrior eyes. As do you, Krell said, respecting her immediately. The journey to Vrex Prime took 2 weeks. During that time, Ambassador Dane tried to prepare for every possible scenario. He studied Vrexian culture, practiced their customs, learned their language. But Hyun told him something important. They won't respect you because you know their customs, Hyun said. They'll respect you if you're honest. That's not how diplomacy works, Dane protested. Maybe not, Hyun said. But it's how friendship works. When they finally arrived at Vrex Prime, the sight took everyone's breath away. The planet was beautiful in a harsh way. Red deserts stretched across continents. Mountain ranges taller than anything on Earth pierced the atmosphere. And everywhere, evidence of a warrior culture. Military installations dotted the surface. Orbital defense platforms surrounded the planet like angry moons. They were escorted to the surface by Vrexian military ships. No one spoke to them. No one welcomed them. They were prisoners or guests or something in between. The council chambers were carved from black stone. The High Matriarch sat on a throne that looked like it was made from the bones of ancient beasts. She was old, her scales scarred from 100 battles. Her eyes were sharp and cold. Beside her sat the other council members. 7 warriors, each one a legend in their own right. They looked at Krell's pack with expressions ranging from contempt to curiosity. Krell, the High Matriarch said. Her voice echoed in the stone chamber. You stand accused of betraying your species. You fought alongside humans. You protected the weak. You rejected the ways of strength. How do you answer these charges? Krell stepped forward. His pack stood behind him, and behind them the humans watched quietly. I answer that the charges are true. I did all these things. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Admitting guilt was not what they expected. Then you admit you have become weak? Another council member asked. No, Krell said firmly. I have become stronger. Just not in the way you understand. The High Matriarch leaned forward. Explain. Krell chose his words carefully. We call ourselves apex predators, the strongest species in the galaxy. But I ask you, what is the purpose of strength? To survive, one council member said. To conquer, said another. To dominate, said a third. Yes, Krell agreed. And we have survived. We have conquered 6 systems. We dominate every species we encounter. But where has it gotten us? We are alone. We are feared. We have no allies. We cannot grow beyond what we are because we cannot imagine being anything else. We don't need allies, the High Matriarch said. We have ourselves. Do we? Krell gestured to his pack. We were dying in space. Our ship was destroyed. We had no help because we have never offered help to others. We have built a culture where even asking for aid is seen as weakness. Is that truly strength, or is it just pride? One of the council members, a scarred warrior named Vex, stood up. You dare lecture us about strength? You who traveled with humans. They are prey. Weak and soft, who are they? Krell asked. He turned to Hyun. This human walked alone into a damaged ship full of predators. He gave us his food knowing we could kill him. He came to our world knowing he might die here. Is that weakness? Vex growled but said nothing. Ambassador Dane stepped forward. Bora moved with him, her hand near her weapon. High Matriarch, with respect, I think there's been a misunderstanding between our species. Oh? The High Matriarch's eyes fixed on him. And what is that? You see us as prey, as weak. But humans didn't reach the stars by being weak. We reached them by working together. By building alliances. By turning enemies into friends. Our strength isn't in our claws or our weapons. It's in our ability to cooperate. Cooperation is for those too weak to stand alone, Vex said. Bora spoke up, her voice hard. I've fought in wars across 4 systems. I've led soldiers into battles where the odds were impossible. And I've learned that the strongest warriors aren't the ones who fight alone. They're the ones who know when to ask for help. The chamber was silent. Then something unexpected happened. The doors opened and Gresk entered. The raider leader who Krell had fought above Haven's Rest. His wounds were bandaged, but he was alive. Gresk? Krell was shocked. What are you doing here? The humans captured me, Gresk said. After the battle, I expected execution. That's what we would have done. But instead, they gave me medical treatment, food. They offered me a choice, prison or work as a security contractor. Which did you choose? The High Matriarch asked. I chose to come here, to testify. Gresk looked at Krell. I don't like you, old enemy, but I respect what you did. You defeated me and the humans showed me mercy, not because they were weak, but because they were strong enough to choose mercy. I have never seen such power. The High Matriarch stood. The entire chamber fell silent. She walked down from her throne and stood before Krell. You have changed, Krell. Your pack has changed. The question is whether this change is evolution or corruption. How will you decide? Krell asked, with a test. The High Matriarch smiled, showing her teeth. In 3 days, you and your pack will undergo the hunt of proving. You will enter the Crimson Wastes and track the Nightmaw. This beast has killed 17 hunting parties. If you succeed using these weak human methods, we will consider an alliance with humanity. If you fail, both you and your human friends will be exiled forever. Ambassador Dane looked at Bora. What's the Nightmaw? The oldest predator on this planet, Sira whispered. It's what Vrexians were before we became civilized. Can we hunt it? Dane asked. Alone? No, Krell said. But together? Maybe. Bora smiled, a warrior's smile. Then I guess we're going hunting. The High Matriarch returned to her throne. You have 3 days to prepare. Use them well. If you survive the Nightmaw, you will prove that cooperation has value. If you die, you will prove that the old ways are best. Either way, we will have our answer. That night, Krell stood with Hyun on a balcony overlooking the Vrexian capital. The city glowed with harsh lights. Everything here was built for strength, for war, for dominance. Are you afraid? Hyun asked. Yes, Krell admitted. The Nightmaw is death itself. Every hunter fears it. Then why are we doing this? Krell looked at his human friend. Because you shared your lunch with a starving predator and changed everything. Because Sira wants to heal instead of just hunt. Because Thane finally understands that caring about others doesn't make you weak. Because Rin believes we can be something better. And because I want my people to have what humans have. What's that? A future where we're not alone, Hyun smiled. Then let's go kill a monster and show them what's possible. In 3 days they would face the deadliest predator on Vrex Prime. But first they had to prepare. Humans and Vrexians working together, planning together, trusting together. The Crimson Wastes earned their name. Red sand stretched to the horizon, broken only by jagged rocks that looked like broken teeth. The temperature swung from freezing cold at night to burning heat during the day. Nothing lived here except the hardest, meanest creatures on Vrex Prime, and the Nightmaw. Krell's pack stood at the edge of the wastes with Bora and her human team. There were 4 humans, Bora herself, a marksman named Jun, a tracker called Min, and a medic named Hana. Small, soft, and according to traditional Vrexian thinking, completely unsuited for this environment. The Nightmaw's territory covers 200 square miles, Sira said, studying her scanner. It's been hunting these wastes for 30 years. It knows every cave, every hunting ground. How big is it? Jun asked. 3 times the size of a normal Vrexian, Krell said, with claws that can cut through stone and armor like paper. Its hide is so thick that most weapons can't penetrate it. And we're hunting this thing, Min said. Great, just great. We don't have to kill it, Thane said. Just survive it long enough to prove our worth. Bora shook her head. No, we prove nothing by running away. We track it, we face it, and we win. Krell looked at her with respect. You think like a Vrexian. I think like a warrior, Bora corrected. There's a difference. They entered the wastes as the sun was rising. The heat hit them immediately. Jun was sweating within minutes. Min had to stop twice to drink water. Hana moved slowly, conserving energy. The humans were struggling and they had barely started. Thane watched them with concern. They won't make it. They will, Krell said firmly. Because we'll help them. That was the first change. In traditional Vrexian hunts, if someone couldn't keep up, they were left behind. Survival of the fittest. But Rin gave Jun his cooling unit. Sira slowed her pace to match the humans. Krell called for rest breaks before anyone asked. They were learning to hunt not as predators chasing prey, but as a team supporting each other. By midday, Min found the first sign of the Nightmaw. Claw marks on a rock face, deep gouges that showed incredible power. The tracks led deeper into the wastes toward a region of caves and ravines. It's hunting, Sira said, reading the signs. These tracks are fresh, maybe 6 hours old. What's it hunting? Hana asked. Probably us, Thane said. The Nightmaw can sense movement from miles away. It knows we're here. That night they made camp in a shallow cave. Jun set up motion sensors around the perimeter. Min used thermal imaging to scan for heat signatures. Hana treated everyone's minor injuries from the day's travel. The humans used technology the Vrexians had never considered. "Why do you rely on machines so much?" Thane asked Jun. "Because we're not as strong as you," Jun said simply. "Our eyes aren't as sharp. Our noses aren't as sensitive. Our bodies aren't as tough. So we build tools to make up for what we lack. Isn't that cheating?" Jun smiled. "No, it's adapting. The strongest species isn't the one with the biggest claws. It's the one that can change when the world changes." Sira, who had been listening, spoke quietly. "Like us, we're changing." "Yes," Jun agreed. "You are." The attack came on the second night. Jun's sensors screamed a warning. Something massive was moving toward them fast. They had seconds to react. "Defensive positions," Bora shouted. They scattered, taking cover behind rocks. The Nightmaw emerged from the darkness like a nightmare made flesh. It was huge, covered in scales that looked like black armor. Its claws were the length of swords. Its eyes glowed red in the darkness, and Jun fired first. His weapon should have been powerful enough to hurt it. The blast hit the Nightmaw square in the chest and did nothing. The creature didn't even slow down. It charged toward the humans, seeing them as the weak prey. Thane intercepted it, his own claws meeting the monsters. The impact threw Thane backward into a rock wall. The Nightmaw kept coming. Krell and Rin attacked from the sides, trying to distract it. The beast was faster than anything that size should be. It turned and caught Rin with one massive paw, sending him tumbling across the sand. They were losing. The Nightmaw was too strong, too fast, too powerful. Traditional Vrexian tactics weren't working. "Fall back," Bora ordered. "Tactical retreat," they ran. The Nightmaw followed, roaring its fury. They led it through narrow passages between rocks, places where its size worked against it. Min dropped explosive charges behind them, not enough to hurt the creature, but enough to slow it down. They regrouped a mile away, breathing hard. Hana was already treating Rin's injuries. Jun's arm was broken. They were hurt, exhausted, and the Nightmaw was still hunting them. "We can't beat it with strength," Krell admitted. "It's stronger than all of us combined." "Then we don't fight with strength," Bora said. "We fight with intelligence." They spent hours planning. Sira tracked the Nightmaw's patterns. Min analyzed its behavior. Jun studied its anatomy from his scanner data. Hana identified potential weaknesses. Krell and Thane planned the attack strategy. This was cooperation on a level neither species had tried before. Humans bringing technology and analysis, Vrexians bringing experience and physical power. Together they created a plan that neither could have made alone. On the third day they were ready. They found the Nightmaw's lair, a deep cave system where the creature rested during the heat of the day. Instead of attacking directly, they set a trap. Jun rigged explosives to bring down the cave entrance. Min set up a perimeter of sensors and barriers. The humans created a kill zone using technology. Then Sira did something brave and crazy. She walked into the Nightmaw's lair alone. The creature woke immediately. It saw her alone and vulnerable and charged. Sira ran. She was fast, but the Nightmaw was faster. It chased her out of the cave, right into the trap. The cave entrance exploded. Rocks fell, blocking the Nightmaw's retreat. It was in the open now, in the kill zone. But it was still incredibly dangerous. The coordinated attack began. Jun fired from high ground, targeting the creature's eyes. His shots weren't strong enough to penetrate its hide, but they could blind it. The Nightmaw roared and stumbled. Thane and Rin attacked from the sides with Vrexian weapons, aiming for joints and soft spots that Hana had identified. The creature turned to face them. Bora threw a net made of high-tensile cables. It wrapped around the Nightmaw's legs, not strong enough to hold it, but enough to slow it down. Min activated electromagnetic pulses that disrupted the creature's nervous system. And Krell, with everything he had learned, led the final attack. Not to kill, but to capture. They drove the Nightmaw into a narrow ravine. The walls were steep on both sides. Bora's team had rigged the ravine with cables and supports. As the Nightmaw entered, they triggered the trap. Nets fell from above. Cables wrapped around its legs, neck, and body. The creature roared and struggled, but slowly, inevitably, it was immobilized. They had done it. They had captured the Nightmaw alive. The journey back to the Dominion capital took 3 days. They brought the captured Nightmaw with them, sedated but alive in a transport cage. Word spread fast. By the time they arrived, thousands of Vrexians had gathered to see the impossible. The High Matriarch met them in the council chambers. She looked at the captured beast, then at the tired, wounded team of humans and Rexians. You did not kill it, she observed. No, Krell said. We proved mastery over it without destroying it. That's a greater show of power than simple death. And you did this together, humans and Rexians, prey and predators. No, Bora said firmly. Warriors and warriors. We're not prey. We never were. You just saw us that way because we're different. The High Matriarch walked around the captured Nightmaw, studying it carefully. For 30 years, this creature has killed our hunters. 17 packs have fallen to it using traditional methods. But you succeeded where they failed. Because you used new methods, she turned to face the council. My fellow council members, I ask you, what is the purpose of strength? No one answered. The High Matriarch continued. We have always said strength is for survival, for conquest, for dominance. But perhaps Krell is right. Perhaps strength is for building, for growing, for creating something greater than ourselves. Vex, the scarred council member who had opposed Krell before, stood up. High Matriarch, I have fought for 60 years. I have killed hundreds. I have built my life on being strong and independent. But watching these humans and Rexians work together, I saw something I have never seen before. I saw warriors of different species moving as one pack. I saw the weak supporting the strong, and the strong protecting the weak. I saw true power. The High Matriarch nodded slowly. The Council will vote. Should we establish formal alliance with humanity? Should we allow this new way of cooperation? One by one, the Council members voted. It wasn't unanimous. Some clung to the old ways, but the majority voted yes. It is decided, the High Matriarch said. The Vrexian Dominion will ally with humanity. Krell's pack will become the first joint Vrexian human unit. They will serve as a bridge between our peoples. Hyun, who had been watching from the side, stepped forward. High Matriarch, with respect, they're not just a bridge. They're something new. Neither purely Vrexian nor purely human. They're a pack that proves we can be stronger together. Yes, the High Matriarch agreed. And perhaps that is the future. Not Vrexians or humans, but something greater than either. 3 months later, the Morning Star had been modified to house both species.